Yan, perfect. Alright, welcome back everyone dito sa latest episode ng Deep Dive. Kasama po natin ngayon si Secretary Ronald Llamas. Usually, of course, pagdating kay the good Secretary Ronald Llamas, we talk about politics, ano mga nangyari sa Pilipinas, etc. But, you know, I think Ronald is one of the few, I don't know, lay people out there who feels as emotionally invested and probably distraught also with the recent developments in Vatican than perhaps anyone else I know, right? Although I would say that a lot of us are also very emotionally affected by this situation. And I think 9 day yung grieving, right? And the conclave, I think within 15 days, it should start or so. But before talking about what is the future, Sir Ronald, can we talk about why would someone like you, who comes from a leftist, socialist background, be so invested, and at the same time, if I would hazard, so emotionally tethered to the legacy of the late Pope Francesco?
Well, I've been watching him from a distance. Pero yung pinakamalakas yung impact sa akin was during COVID na nakita yung video at saka yung picture niya na sa gitna ng St. Peter's Square, umuulan, mag-isa siya, no? At nagsasalita siya tungkol, parang gusto niyang ikampante yung mga tao na most of us were very afraid din eh. Takot tayo, di natin alam kung ano itong pandemic na ito. Uh, uubusin ba nito ang humanity? No? Tapos lahat nasa bahay, marami, walang mga kasama. So, pero nandun siya sa gitna ng St. Peter's, trying to share our fears, trying to share our pain. No? So parang pagtingin mo, parang naiiba to. Hindi ito yung mga dating mga pope or mga cardinal na hindi lumalabas sa kanilang comfort zone. So, he was the first pope na galing sa Latin America. At alam naman natin yung mga
Immigration
sitwasyon sa Latin
theology
America.
and
No? Kaya nakaka-relate tayo dyan dahil dyan mo makikita yung inequality between masyadong mayayaman at masyadong mahihirap. Diyan mo rin makikita yung pinanggalingan natin, no? Mga fascist government, military junta. Diyan mo rin makikita yung violation of human rights. Kaya siguro lahat ng ito ay kasama doon sa kanyang personality, sa kanyang character. Kaya from a distance, nakikita mo siya na uh, coming to terms doon sa institution na simbahan na very powerful, very prosperous, very rich. At yung nakikita niyang problema around the world, lalo na yung kanyang rehiyon, yung Latin America. No? Nakikita mo yung ganong klaseng struggle niya. Kaya siguro yung kanyang legacy is a manifestation ng ganong klaseng balancing act between the institution and the needs of humanity. No? Pero nagkaroon ako ng personal experience sa kanya nung last December. Sabi ko nga, hindi naman ako religious, pero nung nakita ko yung translation ng speech niya na pinakinggan ko in Italian, nung in-elevate niya yung 21 bishops, including Cardinal Ambo,
oh yeah.
into Cardinal, at nakita ko siya na hirap, pero mahigit sang oras na nagsermon, tapos mahigit sang oras na ni-receive yung mga bawat isang obispo na naging cardinal, no? At nung pagkatapos ay nakipagkamayan pa sa mga tao. Tapos kita mo naman naka-wheelchair siya, puro pasa yung muka, puro pasa yung leeg, no? Parang bibilib ka rin eh. Bibilib ka rin na dinideliver niya yung kanyang role beyond the call of duty. Pero mas bumilib ako nung nabasa ko yung translation nung kanyang speech na very self-critical and at the same time very poetic. Imagine mo, sinong pope yung magsisimula sa isang paragraph, yung opening paragraph niya, explaining the contradictions of the human heart. No, doon siya nagsimula. From my vantage point, parang pinapakita niya yung contradiction ng institusyon, yung Catholic Church. Tapos second paragraph, pinapaliwanag niya kung na nakalimutan na ng simbahan yung mga essences, no? Yung essences at nag-focus sa superficialities. No, hindi siya nag-mince ng words eh. Pero sinabi niya in a very poetic manner. Kaya tapos ang kasama doon sa second paragraph na we cannot serve the Lord without first knowing our hearts. So yun yung kanyang kwan eh. Yun yung kanyang second paragraph. Kailangan balikan daw yung puso. Or else, hindi makakapaglingkod ng maayos sa Diyos. Yun yung kanyang second paragraph. Tapos yung third paragraph niya was about the church going back to the roots of Christianity, the first 300 years, the Christianity of the catacombs, the church in the margins. At ang sinasabi niya, the church is about walking. It is not about standing still. No? Parang self-criticism niya na hindi tayo kinakailangan tayo-tayo lang. No? At later on, nung nabasa ko yung kanyang encyclical, yung Fratelli Tutti, ay na-realize ko kung anong ibig niyang sabihin. Yung synodality, about journey together. At yung kanyang multicultural approach sa evangelization. Na evangelization is not about just conversion. No, yung mga iba into Catholicism. It's about saving humanity, saving the world by reaching out to other religion and other cultures and relating to nature. Kaya napakalalim ng usapin ng environment dun sa kanyang legacy. Dahil hindi lang ito about Catholics. It is about humanity, and bahagi ng humanity ay yung environment, yung nature, no? At marami pa siyang sinabi, pero doon sa huli, ang call niya is inclusivity. Na consistent doon sa message niya ng synodality, na journeying together and communicating with others who are not like us. Yun yung, kaya nga yung inappoint niya na parang administrator ng Vatican, hindi yung Secretary of State, yung highest ranking ay isang babae, isang nun. First time nangyari yon sa history ng simbahan. So he was breaking glass ceilings all over the place. No? At bago siya namatay, yung last sermon niya was about Gaza. No? Kaya,
And he would call the Christian community and the pastors there in Gaza, I think, on a daily basis, right? I mean, there are videos of him coming out, talking to them. He talks a little bit Arabic to them, wassalamu alaikum, and then they speak Italian back to him. He says hi to the kids. I mean, that's quite something, isn't it?
Actually, yung isang controversy nga doon sa isa sa mga papabol, yung isa sa mga potential popes, yung African, isang naging incident doon nung isang Easter celebration, hinugasan niya yung paa ng isang babae na Palestinian. No, hinugasan niya. Nag-react yung isang cardinal na very conservative.
Yeah.
Bakit? No? Bakit? Babae na, Palestinian pa. No? At nag-away sila over that. So, yung gano'n talagang binibreak niya yung mga glass ceiling sa Vatican, no? Literally as well as figuratively, no? Ayun. Kaya kahit inaamin naman niya hindi siya perpekto, mismo yung kanyang history ay hindi perfect. Pero at the same time, kitang-kita mo yung basic humanity sa kanya. No? Meron siyang ambivalence tungkol, hindi na unawaan kasi ng iba na bakit hindi siya kaagad sumuporta sa LGBTQI, no? Bakit siya nagbabalanse? Of course, dahil he has to deal with the institution, no? At
I
yung
mean,
institution,
he's not a king, right? I mean, he's not a monarch. He's not a king. He's a steward, right? I mean, people have to understand. And no matter how powerful you are within an institution, you have to work with the balance of forces there, with the tradition there, the weight of tradition.
yes.
But just before going back to that, I'm glad that you mentioned yung parang literary side niya. This is one thing interesting that story I came across. Accordingly, sabi ni kapangalan din niya yan, di ba? When I think of literature, I'm reminded of what the great Argentinian writer Jorge Luis Borges, right? Para silang Jorge, used to tell his students, namely that the most important thing is simply to read, to enter into direct contact with literature, to immerse oneself in the living text in front of us, rather than to fixate on ideas and critical comments. It's getting in touch with another person's voice, yung empathy, no? It's empathy, yung personal touch. You could see that his approach to literature was also very much tied to yung approach niya in terms of dealing with human beings. Very pastoral yung approach niya, no? Hindi siya yung parang, I'm head of the biggest institution. Very pastoral, very affable, very relatable. Do you think that's also because of his Latin American background? I mean, obviously his ancestors come from Italy. In fact, part of the lore is that if his grandparents, who I think stood up to fascism in Italy when they were escaping out of Turin, if I'm not mistaken, parang na-late yata yung bayad sa kanila ng bahay nila or something. They missed a ship, and then later on that ship turned out to sink. So if ever hindi na late yung bayad sa kanila, there would have been no Pope Francesco, right? So I mean, there's almost a miraculous lore to their passing from Italy, Europe, all the way to Argentina. But the other thing is, of course, he also rose almost around my age, 36, 37. He became the head of Jesuits in Argentina. But this was a very difficult time, Ronald, right? This is the era of desaparecidos. This is an era of military regime. And if I'm not mistaken, there were many people who were not very happy with his positioning, his leadership. In fact, he himself admitted that he was a bit authoritarian back then. And then eventually he was pushed into exile and sidelined. And then God gave him a second chance, right? I mean, it's the redemption arc that also impresses me. And the fact that he had to also struggle with the difficult political and spiritual questions that Argentina's traumatizing and polarizing politics created by the mid 20th century.
Well, it's coming from the ethos of liberation theology, the ethos of uh, the church from the margins, no? Yun yung kanyang ethos, which is related dun sa matagal na natin pinag-uusapan na dependency theory, no? Yung dependency theory. So, yun yung kanyang pinanggagalingan. Pero at the same time, as a leader nung simbahan, halimbawa sa Argentina, he has to deal doon sa intricacies ng dictatorship. No, kinakailangan niyang kausapin yung powers that be, no? As a leader of the institution. Kaya meron din siyang ganung level ng pragmatism. At doon minsan siya binabanatan doon sa kanyang karanasan as a leader, doon as a church leader sa Argentina na bakit hindi niya ginawa, bakit hindi niya binatikos like Oscar Romero ng matindi yung gobyerno na very authoritarian, very dictatorial, very fascistic. Ang sinasabi naman ng iba ay kinakailangan niyang gawin yon para protektahan yung pwedeng protektahan. No? Kailangan niya mag-negotiate. No? Kailangan niya mag-negotiate para mapalaya niya yung mga ibang nakakulong. Dahil kung walang magne-negotiate, lalong lalala yung sitwasyon. So may ganong klaseng mga pinanggagalingan. Kumbaga, fast forward, yung iba sinasabi, he wasn't woke enough. Ang sinasabi naman ng iba ay masyado naman siyang woke. No? Halimbawa, si Trump, tinawag siya as the Antichrist. No, yung ganon. Tapos
because they question Trump's Christianity, if I'm not mistaken.
No? Ngayon pupunta sa libing niya si Trump. No? Pero tinawag siyang Antichrist. No? Dahil nga, ang tingin sa kanya ay masyado siya nag-open sa reform. Ang legacy kasi niya is reform eh. Ang legacy niya is humility. Ang legacy niya is inclusivity. That is exactly the opposite of what Trump represents. Di ba? So, talagang ang tawag sa kanya ay Antichrist. Pero ngayon,
he's more anti-Trump in that sense.
Tingnan natin paano luluhod si Trump sa kanyang funeral. No? Kaya yun yung contradiction niya na some are saying he wasn't woke enough, some are saying he's too woke. No? At in the next conclave, yan ang pagtatalunan. The success is basically a battle for his legacy. At itong pinag-uusapan natin ngayon ay yung legacy niya, cup half full, cup half empty. The contradictions of that legacy.
I mean, before we can talk about the future, I mean, I just want to remind people na, this is a pope who expressly tried to say he's neither a man of the right nor the left. Of course, in amid yung military regime and the desaparecidos issues, I think one of his former colleagues na Jesuit did not reconcile with him. Someone else reconciled with him. Ito yung mga biktima ng military junta. But the thing is, over time, as he became more popular as one of the top religious leaders in Argentina, especially because of his work for the poor, among others, he also expressly said, I think there was an event whereby Kirchner was there, the leftist, populist, Peronist leader of Argentina. And he said something like, in as much as he's critical of certain conservative traditionalism and the darker version of that he saw in Argentina, he's also not a man of the left. He in fact criticized the efflorescence or kind of a oversupply of confidence in state institution, a kind of a non-religious, non-spiritual institution, and expressly Kirchner was there. So basically, was saying ang problema naman ng mga leftists at progressivists, masyado silang believe sa kakayahan ng gobyerno or estado para to resolve yung mga problems of society, when much of our problems are not only systemic, they're also spiritual. And baka doon nakakakulang yung mga usual progressives and leftists. So this was a man who expressly tried to always position himself as an independent mind, independent force, neither man of left, neither man, nor a man of right. Nevertheless, of course, he was also an accidental pope, right? He was first runner-up in the first conclave where Ratzinger became eventually the pope, and then you had this extraordinary situation of what, first time in 600 years or something, a pope stepping down, and then dun sa second chance, this is 2013. I think there you could see that he really went for embracing a kind of a more reform-oriented agenda. But Sir Ronald, we know that on many occasions he backpedaled. He was very apologetic, right? For instance, dun sa some of the abuses cases, initially he casted doubt on the allegations of abuse, I think vis-a-vis one of the archbishops, I think the American one. And then later on, he admitted that he made a grave error by not paying enough attention to the victims. There are also stories that, perhaps he was very accommodating to a lot of people, and at the same time there's a sense that, on some of the issues, for instance, on the influence of women within the church, or even the same-sex union issue, he was a little bit more ambivalent than some people wanted. But his defenders would say he was trying to see what are the lines, right? And he wanted to make sure that he can hold the church together, because there were a lot of very conservative forces, right? Si Sarah, si Burke, these are very big figures in the US Catholicism. I think we're quite critical of him. And he tried to balance it. And at the same time, when he was asked in one interview, are you not scared na magkaroon ng schism or separation because of your, for instance, yung position niya on liturgy, yung his efforts to modernize and make Catholic Church more relatable? Sabi niya something along the lines that, I'm not scared. And then interestingly, dito makita talaga yung Latino side niya. He said, I take criticism from Americans kind of like a badge of honor, right? Like, I take it as a good thing na kinikriticize ako ng mga Americans. I mean, to what degree do you think he was a man of his moment, and at the same time someone who tried to transcend the moment and push the Catholic Church in the right direction, Sir
Ayun
Ronald?
nga, sinasabi ko kanina ay binabalansin niya yung limits ng institution at yung necessities na kailangan ng mundo at this point, no? So yun yung kanyang balancing act. Halimbawa, pumosisyon siya against abortion. Pumosisyon siya laban sa same-sex marriage. Pero tinutulan niya yung move ng mga conservatives na wag bigyan ng komunyon yung mga divorcee, yung mga nagpa-abort, yung mga married sa same sex. So, inoppose niya yung move ng sections ng kanyang simbahan na ito ay itaboy sa simbahan. Itong mga halimbawa, yung isang cardinal kasi ang sinasabi, dapat yung mga babae na nakipag-divorce, wag bibigyan ng komunyon. Yung mga lalaki pwede. Definitely inoppose na yon, no? Yung iba ang sinasabi, yung mga gays ay dapat hindi bahagi ng simbahan. Sabi niya hindi, dapat i-welcome natin sila dahil sila ay mga anak ng Diyos. No? So may ganun siya. Pero at the same time, hindi siya pumosisyon for same-sex marriage. Hindi siya pumosisyon for abortion.
Like I said,
No?
you can bless each of the, parang, you cannot bless the union, but you can bless individually those two persons who are in the union. Meron
Yes.
pa silang positioning doon sa 60
Yun
Minutes.
yung sinasabi niya. Kaya, halimbawa, itong sexual abuse within the church, binuksan niya yung investigation dyan. Pero ang criticism sa kanya ng iba, he didn't went far enough para parusahan yung mga may kasalanan. No? Kaya yun yung debate. Bagamat binuksan niya na we have yung tawag niya transparency, kinakailangan pag-usapan niya mga yan
Accountability. Yeah.
magkaroon ng healing. Sinasabi ng iba, dapat may ginawa siya para parusahan yung iba na mga gumawa niyan. No? Kaya yun yung mga balancing. Pero whether he is a leftist or not, tingin ko sa balance sheet, he is a leftist. Paano tinawag niya ang global capitalism, unfettered capitalism as the dung of the devil. That's the strongest statement na pwede mong gamitin, no? The dung of the devil, no? Kaya at throughout his papacy, binabanatan niya yung neoliberalism na yumayaman ang mundo, yumayaman ang overall economy, pero lumalaki rin ang inequality. No? At definitely, siya ay very anti-war. No? Minsan ay controversial din ito dahil
Sa
halimbawa,
Ukraine, for instance, yeah, medyo, yeah.
he was almost calling what's happening in Gaza as genocide, almost there, no? Pero at the same time, kiniticize siya ang NATO, no? As isa sa mga dahilan kung bakit nagkaroon ng gera sa Ukraine, no? Na antagonize ng husto si Putin. Kaya halimbawa, kanina at kahapon nagsalita ako sa mga Europeans na andito 200 of them are here para mag-observe ng ating election. Nagulat ako. Sabi ko, ang dami ah. And I met the former health minister ng Portugal, no? Tapos may mga ministers o may mga member of parliament from the European Parliament, nandito sila. Siyempre, mix yung kanilang feelings kay Pope Francis. Dahil nga, halimbawa, over Ukraine at saka yung abuses sa loob ng simbahan at yung mga social encyclicals, no? Na tingin nila he didn't went far enough.
Yeah.
Pero kung babasahin mo yung sa akin kasi balance sheet no? Balance sheet siya mismo inaamin niya hindi siya perfect, no? Siya mismo inaamin niya kinakailangan niyang balansehin yung ano ba yung handa ang simbahan ngayon and yet to push the church further, no? Kaya nga ang kanya reform, humility, inclusivity, no? That is very controversial para sa simbahan.
Sir, just a personal question. I mean, obviously you're a man of the left, and obviously you have a background in studying in one of the oldest Catholic institutions in the world, and no question the oldest in Asia. Did he bring out something in you, or did he surprise you? I mean, in a sense that, I mean, obviously, we discussed your background in many platforms, your days in Oste, and then your resistance against the Marcos dictatorship, your drift towards the left, the progressive movement. Did Pope Francis kind of restore a kind of a inner Catholic in you, or in a way, did he restore faith in humanity that someone in such a conservative institution was speaking the language that perhaps you feel comfortable with, the language of inclusiveness, the language of shared common humanity, right? The language of seeing the world through the eyes of the poor, right? I mean, as the Pope would put it. I mean, these are very progressive positioning, right?
Well, first of all, I was recruited sa isang my first organization, ang tawag niya Cruz, Kristiyanong Ugnayan tungo sa Sosyalismo, Christian Socialist. So, na-recruit ako sa movement not through the teachings of Marx or Lenin or Mao or other Marxist theoreticians. Na-recruit ako doon sa mga works ni Gustavo Gutierrez, no? Na-recruit ako doon sa mga works ni Vicente Foz, etc.
More liberation theology.
Liberation theologians sa Brazil, sa Chile, etc. So doon nagsimula. Ikalawa, nagsimula ako mag-organize sa prelatura ng Infanta kay Bishop Labayen, a very progressive bishop, no? Na very left. Kaya ang mga kasama ko puro mga pare na leftist. Yung unang seminar ko about fascism, ang nagbigay si Cardinal Tagle sa seminary niya sa Tahanan ng Mabuting Pastol sa Tagaytay. So, ibig sabihin yung formative years ko ay pinanggilingan niyang ay liberation theology. Yan, yung Christianity from the catacombs. Nung sila ay lahat naka-underground. Pero along the way, medyo nabawasan yan dahil nakita ko na may backlash against liberation theology. May backlash against progressive politics within the church. So hindi mo na nahanap yan doon sa simbahan. Kaya yung pinanggalingan mo, mabilis na ubos dahil nga hindi mo nahanap yung ganyang klaseng theology within the church. Kaya napahiwalay ka. Napahiwalay ka doon sa simbahan. Kahit doon ka nagsimula. Tapos, eventually, nakilala ko uh, sila Cardinal Ambo, nakilala ko sila Father Albert, nakilala ko yung mga iba na mga uh, very progressive sa simbahan. Nagsimula ulit bumalik. No, hindi ako religious, pero nakita ko na yung pinanggalingan ko na liberation theology ay meron pa palang mga pockets within the church, at least within the
Well, at
Philippine
least
church.
one became a cardinal, so more than a pocket, I
Oh,
would say. Yeah.
yes. So, tapos, nung nakuan ko siya, nung narinig ko siya, last December, parang nabuhayan ka na, na very self-critical ito sa kanyang sariling institusyon. Sabi ko nga nung isang araw, dahil may isang pare, binanggit niya, yung isang ini-interview namin sa Storycon, na nandun sa Vatican, kinikwento niya yung shoes of the fisherman, no, from a different vantage point, paano nila ginagawa yung conclave, etc. Pero meron ako naalala dun sa shoes of the fisherman ni Morris West na sinabi nung Pope na why did an imperfect God chose such an imperfect institution to spread his message, referring to the church. No? So nakita ko siya sa ganun no, na this is a very imperfect institution. No? Actually yung background dun sa Morris West na libro na yan, na nagkaroon ka ng reluctant pope, no? Nagaling sa Eastern Europe, yung kanya ay self-criticism din ng simbahan. Kaya naalala ko lang, nung binasa ko yan nung college, naalala ko 2 days ago na, oy, parang ganito pala si Pope Francis.
Yeah, reluctant
Nakita
Pope.
yung
Yeah.
40 years,
Accidental Pope.
higit na naalala ko yung libro. Dahil doon sa pare na binanggit yun, naalala ko clearly, parang ngayon ko lang binasa, yung comparison between Pope Francis at saka yung Pope doon sa Shoes of the Fisherman na sinulat ni Morris West. Very very
Right.
very good book,
Point.
no? Yun yung nakuha ko. Kaya mismo yung pagpili niya ng pangalan, siya yung unang gumamit ng pangalan na Francis.
Yeah, CC
Ah,
from France.
oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
na very humble, no, very down to earth, 'di ba? At very non-institutional. 'Di ba? Kung kabisado mo yung buhay ni Saint Francis, ganun-ganun siya. Ganun-ganun siya si Pope Francis. Na
And, and and
talagang
and he's the first Jesuit also who became a pope. Last time I checked, so
yes.
really we shouldn't be surprised. Not only first Latin American from the developing global South world, but also the first. But at the same time, he also has Italian roots, so I don't think he had much trouble also adjusting once he was there in Vatican, and of course with the Italian, with the Roman people in Rome among others.
Saka very caring, ha. Halimbawa, nung nakausap ko nung isang gabi si Cardinal Ambo, kinokondole ko siya, ay ayun na ang sabi niya, para siyang nawalan ng for the second time, para siyang nawalan ng tatay, no? Ganun kahalaga sa kanya yung nangyari kay Pope Francis, no? Lungkot na lungkot siya. At sa kanya napakalungkot nung karanasan na nawalan ng ama. Pero ito parang for the second time nawalan siya uli ng ama, no? So may ganun siyang epekto. Halimbawa nung na-meet ko siya ng panandalian doon sa St. Peter nung dumadaan siya, naka-wheelchair siya. Pag kinausap ka niya, sa dami ng tao, naka-focus siya sa iyo. So kapag kinakausap niya yung mga tao, kung na, hindi ganun karami yung may ganung klaseng
Yeah, focus.
personality. Na
Yeah,
pagkausap ka, naka-focus siya sa iyo. Hindi siya nadidistract
in
sa
presence, no? Yeah.
maraming mga tao sa paligid. Binibigyan kanya ng importance, no? Ang feeling mo, napaka-importante mo na itong napaka-powerful na tao ay kinikilala ka. So tingin ko ganun yung epekto niya sa mga tao
You feel
Nung
seen.
tinreten si Bishop Ambo ni Duterte, no? Na bakit papatayin niya yung mga obispo na yan na walang ginawa kundi mag-criticize. Tapos binanatan siya na magnanakaw ng prutas. Yung mga inaalay daw sa simbahan, ninanakaw niya. At siya ay isang drug peddler. na naglilibot sa kanyang parokya paggabi, no? Ay pinatawag siya ni Pope Francis. Ang sabi sa kanya, uh, alam namin yung nangyayari at we're watching you, no? Poprotektahan ka namin, no? Talagang hinawakan siya sa braso. Ibig sabihin, kahit malayong-malayo siya rito, monitored ng Pope yung nangyayari dito. Well, sa bagay, minura ni Digong si Pope
Well, I'm
Francis.
sure that was not the reason. I'm sure it's because the Pope
Oh,
really cares about when he sees mass murder
yes.
anywhere in the world, regardless of your color. You don't have to be white or Western or this or that. This is a person who cares about when he sees mass atrocities, right? And you talk about tens of thousands. Bishop Ambo dun sa, I think with Rico Hizon, he had this interview. It was very emotional. Sabi niya, yung isang meeting niya with Pope, the Pope asked him to come back and if he could pray over him, which is really quite a big deal. Kasi usually parang you just meet him and then officially then you move on, right? Parang ganun yung process, di ba? But he particularly asked if he could pray over Bishop Ambo. Do you think is it? Do you think he sees a part of himself in Bishop Ambo, or he sees in Bishop Ambo? Again, this is really not political. This is really a spiritual question. Do you think in Bishop Ambo he saw the future of the church? This kind of a person who is who stands for everything that a religious institution should stand, which is courage in face of barbarity, which is what the EJK was, right? When Bishop Ambo also made very strong statements on the Palestine issue, right after he became the cardinal. So, do you think there's also the kind of kindred spirit or kind of hindi naman protege, but this is gonna be next generation of the kind of pope? Kasi it's not only about di ba, nationality or representation, right? It's also about orientation, right? I don't want to use the word ideology, right? I think he must have seen something in Bishop Ambo to do that, right? Like atong, I mean, Bata in a sense, a much younger guy, he could be the future of the church, right? Or at least represent what the Pope wanted to see in the church.
Yes. Tingin ko, balikan ko uli yung kanyang sermon noong December 7 na sinabi ni Pope Francis na ang isang problema sa mga present apostles ng simbahan ay masyado silang focus doon sa easy path, yung comfortable path. Ang sinasabi niya, yung way of the cross is the hard path, the dangerous path, no? Paakyat at ipapako ka sa krus. It's about danger eh. Yung marami ngayon sa mga apostles ng simbahan ay gusto nila yung pababa. Gusto nila yung madaling daan. Yung mga katulad ni Cardinal Abbo represents that trajectory na
Bear the
hardship,
cross, bear the cross.
danger, no? Yun yung kanya eh. Yun yung kanyang emphasis. Kaya very close siya sa mga ganyang klaseng mga tao, no? Halimbawa, siya yata yung pope na napakaraming kardinal na pinromote. Pero itong mga cardinal na ito ay nakakalat around the world. This is the first time na majority ngayon ng College of Cardinals ay
Global
hindi
South.
hindi Europeans. Ngayon lang nangyari yan. At yan ay kasama sa legacy ni Pope Francis na gusto niya na mas marami sa sentro ng kapangyarihan ng Vatican, ng simbahan, ay galing across the world. Lalo na yung mga bansa na wala pang kardinal. No? Wala pang kardinal. At marami nito ay relatively bata. Bata. No? Kaya talagang kasama yan sa kanyang legacy. Pero yung essence o yung ethos ng kanyang legacy or for lack of a better term, yung kanyang ideology ay makikita mo sa kanyang encyclicals. Lalo na din sa Fratelli Tutti. Pag binasa mo yan, makikita mo yung ideological formation niya. Na very concerned siya sa environment. Very concerned siya sa
Climate
climate
change,
change.
yeah,
No?
absolutely.
Pero at the same time, very concerned siya sa dinadaanan ngayon ng humanity na oppression, ng gera, ng kahirapan. Kaya ang gusto niya, yung sinatawag ko ulit na synodality, ay journeying papunta doon sa mga hindi natin kasama. No? Iba yung kultura, iba yung relihiyon. No? Yun yung kanyang ine-emphasize. Yung ecumenism na integral din sa liberation theology several generations ago. No? Kaya nakarelate ako dahil parang ibinabalik niya uli yun. No? In a poetic manner. Yung hindi boring manner. Dahil internally sa loob ng simbahan, very controversial siya. Pero sa around the world, cool siya eh. 'Di ba? Very chill siya, communicator, no, laughing with people, no, yung ganun ba?
He's a global icon. I mean, it's interesting
Yes.
whether it's from Weldon Belio or the Bangsamoro Authority or ordinary people in Indonesia. Many people who don't share his faith or people who no longer share his faith had very, very touching, very heartfelt, eulogy for the great Pope.
At mahalaga sa kanya, Richard, ang Asia. Alam niya na two-thirds ng global population nandito eh. Alam niya na yung future ng simbahan ay nakatali dito sa ating rehiyon. Kaya nga nag-open siya ng negotiations even with China eh. No, with the Communist Party of China.
Although that was controversial. That was quite controversial. Justice Carpi
Yeah.
actually was quite critical of that. But my understanding is that the calculation of the Pope was that the status quo was untenable because, Protestant groups are growing very fast in China, and then there's no mechanism of protection because hindi na recognize ang Communist Party yung authority ng Vatican. So at least they got the Chinese Communist Party to acknowledge that the Pope is the ultimate authority on the issues of appointment, among others. But nevertheless, they also had to accept the appointment of China of some of the bishops, right? Which didn't go down very well, especially among the persecuted ones in China.
Yan. Yun. Yun yung balancing dyan. No? Pero yun, ang pinanggagalingan nun ay napakahalaga ng ating rehiyon. No?
Yun nga eh, like, although interestingly, again, this is the time of grieving, and we don't want to talk about the politics and all of that. But inevitably, one of the things I kept on hearing in Vatican and in Italy last month was yung kanyang Secretary of State, who also happens to be of Italian descent, could be one of the favorites. But of course, almost 9 out of 10 lists I see Cardinal Tagle is there. So first of all, alam ko there are already more than 200 cardinals pero 130-ish lang maging kasama doon sa conclave, right? Like, I'm not
So
even sure.
80.
Yun nga eh, like how is
80.
that gonna be decided? Like, will Ambo be part of the conclave? Kasi bago lang siya. Yun nga eh, actually interesting eh. I'm suddenly curious like how is that?
Unless ikaw mismo sinabi mo na ayaw mo maging voting cardinal, no? Tingin ko yung below
You
80
can
cardinals kasama. Paano may isa kasi? May isa na voting pero ang sinabi niya ay hindi pa ako handa, no?
interesting. Kasi you
Hindi
could
pa
be the next pope. Next thing you know, you will be voted out of nowhere. Yeah.
because theoretically anybody can be pope.
Among
Theoretically.
those who joined the final, yeah.
Although ang tradition ay usually cardinal ang nagiging pope. Pero in theory, basta ikaw ay Katoliko, ikaw ay lalaki, no?
And
Ikaw
under
ay
80. Under 80.
yeah,
The
ikaw
age is
ay pwedeng maging pope, no? Yun yung pero ayun nga, in practice, it's usually or almost every time cardinal ang nagiging pope, no? Pero unpredictable din kasi yan eh.
yeah.
Kahit yung mga frontliners, sabi nga nila, in a conclave, you enter as a pope, you leave as a cardinal, no? Dahil kahit yung
Anyone
mga
could be,
frontliners,
interesting.
ay usually hindi na elect. No? May yung iba kasi diyan ay negotiations pero yung iba diyan parang touched by the spirit, no? May katulad nung pelikulang Conclave, bigla na lang may tatayo, no? By acclamation. Tapos yung mga kandidato matatalo lahat. Yung
I
mga
mean, that
parang
movie was like, wow, daming plot twists, right?
uh,
Like it keeps on coming and coming and all, and you could see the
actually yung pelikulang Conclave based on a book. At yung book, sa book pag binasa mo,
Filipino yung maging pope.
Pilipino yung naging pope.
Yeah. And
Pilipino yung
sabi nung mga
controversial
pare
naging.
sa akin sa Vatican nakausap ko, sabi nila, well, in the movie it's different kasi in the novel the idea is that if you have an Asian pope, the Asian pope, particularly kasi a Filipino pope, parang the idea there is that it brings both kind of a motherly love and at the same time that kind of a, father figure. So kind of a best of both worlds idea. Kaya of course, medyo iba yung sa movie, di ba? Medyo iba yung movie. But in the novel daw, Pinoy ang lalabas and the idea that why you would have a Pinoy Pope is because an Asian man, a Filipino man brings all of those elements that the caring, nurturing side at the same time that kind of fatherly figure and leadership side, which is quite interesting and all. You think, Sir Ronald, should lay people even be concerned about how the legacy will be carried forward, and how important is that the legacy will be carried forward, because there's some very
Very,
conservative figures who are in
very
contention
confident naman
also.
yung mga, very confident naman yung mga nakausap natin. Dahil
Because
una,
majority na nandun sa conclave ay
the
nasa
balance of
NRI.
forces, puro kanyan, no? Puro mga pinromote o inelevate ni Pope Francis. At to some extent, ay naniniwala yan doon sa kanyang ethos. No? Kaya, ikalawa, mismo yung pressure ng mundo. No, yung mundo ngayon ay iba na eh. Iba ito dun sa post World War II world. Iba to dun sa post Cold War world, no? Nagbago na eh. Kaya hindi mo pwedeng ibalik yung genie in a box. Hindi ka pwedeng ibalik yung Latin Mass. Hindi mo pwedeng i-excommunicate yung mga katulad ni Richard Haydarian, no? Hindi mo pwedeng i-excommunicate yan. So kinakailangan
Sir Ronald, for the first time in ever, mabait ako at seryoso. Kanina pa rin yung baka ko nakabantay.
naninibaguhan ako eh, kaya gusto ko sa i-disrupt eh.
Sir Ronald, sabi ko, for once, let's have a really somber, hindi mo talaga kaya, Sir Ronald, no? It's not really
Medyo nakaya naman ng more than 30 minutes.
yeah, medyo, I mean, like talagang may,
Pero kahit ako may limits eh.
yun ba yung story of Scorpion and the Frog, yun like, basta don't bite me,
Oo,
will cross, and then
ayan.
unite siya. Bakit? I couldn't help. I couldn't help.
My
So,
instinct eh. It's my instinct eh. Di ba?
unfortunately, I can see why you are not excommunicated.
If your instinct is to save, no, my instinct is to bite, to attack.
Well, I mean, there's a bite that always helps. Like, I mean, speaking of that, remember that was it that former U.S. Speaker of the House who resigned from his position after meeting the Pope? Remember, Boner ba yan? Yung Republican speaker during the first term of Trump. Parang after meeting niya with the Pope, he came out like crying and all, and then sabi niya, ayun na sa politics. He retired from politics altogether. Because probably he understood, like, you don't want to be part of what's going on. You don't want to be complicit, right? He had
especially,
that effect on some
especially
leaders.
with a president like Trump.
Well, this second version is, well, much more multi-layered and interesting, quote unquote.
Yung Catholics sinuportahan si Trump ah. Akala mo ang mga main supporters
Yeah,
ni
but
Trump
because they're conservative.
Catholics, no?
Support Sarah, Burke,
Hindi.
itong mga
Yung
bishop cardinals are very
mga
conservative.
Katoliko sinuportahan si Trump. No?
Si J.D. Vance is a very conservative Catholic. Yeah. Their influencers like the Jordan Peterson types are very conservative Catholic. Not necessarily on the side of the Pope Francesco. But again, we don't want to go into the politics in that sense. But what I want to say is going back to the Philippines, would it matter if the next Pope is a Filipino Pope or a Pope that continues in the footstep of Pope Francis, in a sense that could it have an impact on us, a moral, spiritual impact that God willing, will push us in the right direction? Because, Sir Ronald, I'm looking at the surveys. There was one survey that was shown to me by a corporation. I won't say which corporation. Consumer sentiment yung basis, pero tinanong yung consumer base nila, which is tens of millions, about the issue of ICC and accountability. In some regions of the country, not even 1 out of 10 people were in favor of that because of their sense of loyalty to the person who's now gonna probably spend the rest of his life in Hague. And I can't but see it as a moral issue also. As much as I understand there's this kind of regionalistic alignments and all of that. I mean, how can you be okay with EJK? How can you be okay after every evidence that is coming out? I mean, even the Pope indirectly, like through Cardinal Ambo, among others, made his position very clear, right? So I know we are not supposed to be a moral, spiritual podcast, Sir Ronald, but sometimes I really can't feel but morally shocked as much as intellectually I completely understand what's going on.
Yeah. Well, kung titingnan natin yung survey, no? Most of the survey, halimbawa tungkol sa arrest ni Digong sa ICC, is very positive. In the sense na, halimbawa, isang survey, 2/3 nag-agree na dapat litisin si Digong sa ICC. Yung isang survey, SWS yata yan, or PULSE, more than 50% ang sang-ayon na litisin si Digong sa ICC. Pero in the same surveys, tumataas yung approval rating ni Vice President Sara. So medyo dysfunctional
Dissonance.
Oh,
Dissonant.
may difference no? Pero nakikita mo dun sa mga surveys na yan, even in Mindanao, no? 29% at 28% yung tutol na litisin si Digong, no? 49% ang sang-ayon at meron kang 15% na undecided. So even that, ibig sabihin, dramatic yan. Ha? Pero hindi lang isang survey, several surveys yung ganyan. So ang natin, kailangan natin maunawaan yung dysfunction na yan, yung dissonance na yan.
I want to
At
go back to this, Sir Ronald, this dissonance. Kasi, for instance, Sarah basically has not been doing anything since she resigned from DepEd, and yet her approval is going higher. Like, approval of what?
yan
Her, like,
medyo
yun nga,
madaling
like, hindi ko
unawain.
gets, like, what are people satisfied with that? Wala nga siyang ginagawa. And then, BBM is going down because dapat marami siyang ginagawa, pero palpak siya. Like, how am I gonna take even that survey seriously? I mean, like,
Yan,
or that, like, di ba? I mean, it doesn't make
yan
sense.
mas madaling unawain yan no? Dahil halimbawa, ang dahilan diyan, whether rightly or wrongly, ang tingin ng tao ay palpak si BBM, no? Ang tingin ng tao palpak siya.
Which is
25,
understandable, yeah.
25% yung kanyang approval rating no? Kaya tumaas si Sara dahil doon sa kinontra po siya kay BBM kahit wala siyang ginagawa. No? Dahil nga, halimbawa, with two-thirds self-rated poverty, with 28% involuntary hunger, no? Starvation, no? At tingin ng mga tao, crime is rising, no? With three dramatic kidnappings, no? Kaya yun yung binababa ni kaya ngayon pumunta sa Visayas si BBM distributing 20 peso
I saw
kilo
that,
rice.
yeah.
Oh,
Tinatag
pero
ako kanina, yeah.
siyempre hindi yan makakaapekto sa market price. Pero hinahabol niya, alam niya bumabagsak siya. Alam niya yung kanyang mga promisa dun sa kanyang tatlong SONA,
Campaign niya, yeah.
especially yung latest na dalawang SONA, the second and third, ay sinisingil na siya, no? Kaya
Good
kung
term,
at
yeah.
hindi
Sinisingil.
malinaw kung ano yung kanyang reform package hanggang ngayon. At syempre, hinohon pa rin siya nung GAA, nung usapin sa national budget. Meron pa rin kwan yun, meron pa rin impact yun.
The whole
Pero
issue, yeah.
in general, ang tanong, where's the beef? No? Bakit ganyan yung self-rated poverty? Ba't ganyan yung inflation? Sabi mo, bumaba ang inflation. Di ba? Yun yung pinagmamalaki, bumaba ang inflation, bumaba ang unemployment. Pero it's not that, it's what people feel. Di ba yung nararamdaman ng mga tao? No? Perhaps part of that is communication. No? Part of that ay kakulangan talaga ng reform package. No? Part of that ay successful yung narrative nung kalaban. Or it can be all of the above.
Yeah,
Pero
all of the above.
tumataas si Sara dahil bumababa si BBM. No?
Which is again a binary choice which tells you na wala pa rin clear alternative to this Duterte Marcos thing, di
Yun
ba?
yung isa pang
Which
problema.
kind of
Walang
goes
clear
like this.
alternative.
Yeah,
Oo,
which
yun
is
yung isa
clear.
pang problema. Pero makikita mo, tumataas yung gustong litisin si Digong sa ICC. Tumataas nga yung pro-impeachment no? Pero at the
Pero
same time,
tumataas rin si Bato. Mataas pa rin si Bongo. I mean, ganito,
hindi, pero
let's
yun,
say ayan ang tao.
understandable yun yan ay yung tinatawag ni Ronnie Holmes na consolidation tsaka tightening. Di ba? Yung sinasabi niya na yung mga dati
I
na
understand the consolidation
passive,
part, yeah.
passive ang support sa mga kandidato ni Digong at saka ni Kwan, ni Sara,
Ay
ngayon ay
nag-consolidate.
consolidate. Pero it's not a surge. Why is it not a surge? Dahil hindi naman sila nakakuha sa undecided Hindi naman sila nakakuha doon sa
Sa
mga
kabila.
hindi naman sila nakakuha sa pink Nagta-tighten din yung mga yun Nagta-tighten din At yan yung magiging dilema nung namamangka sa dalawang ilog. Katulad ni Camille, katulad ni Amy.
Yeah,
No?
but Sir Ronald,
Dahil
like, okay,
everybody is tightening.
we use the argument of consolidation. I think that's even a better term to use than whatever term they're using out there. But my problem is, if 70-80% of your voters say ayaw nila ng pro-China candidates, right? If 60-70% are saying gusto nila ICC accountability, and then you have certain candidates getting 45, 55, even 60% preference rating,
Ibig sabihin
may
yan,
dissonance yan.
we failed in connecting those issues with these candidates. Diba? We
Or
failed.
voters are not also doing that enough on their own, right? Parang ganun.
Hindi natin nakuha yun. Sa mga tao, pag sinabi ng mga Duterte, may problema sa crime, may problema sa bigas, pagkain, no? May problema sa sahod at
May
saka hanap,
resonance agad.
tatamaan yung gobyerno dahil nararamdaman ng tao yun 'di ba? yung gobyerno na hindi na ma-maximize yung narrative na this is not about Marcos and Duterte. This is about the victims of extrajudicial killings. This is about China na binebenta tayo. This is about drugs na yung mga bumapatay na mga addicts ay mga drug lords pala. So it's a failure of narrative. No? It's a failure of messaging. Partly. Pero para sa akin, malaking bahagi is where's the beef? No? Hindi, pero mo 2.5 decades, ngayon ko lang nagkaroon ng 63% self-rated poverty. Di ba? 2.5 decades. No?
Cost of
Ngayon
living
huli
talaga,
nangyari
yeah.
yan. No? Tapos 28% involuntary hunger and starvation. Mga record high yan. Ha?
Yeah.
Pero sinasabi ng gobyerno, bumaba ang inflation. Sinasabi ng gobyerno, tumataas ang growth. Although hindi na yung 7% na gusto nila, 5% na lang. Pero sinasabi ng gobyerno ay bumaba ang unemployment, no? Pero yung 200 peso wage increase hanggang ngayon nasa back burner. The first minimum wage proposal since 1989, walang minimum wage. Ngayon ay hindi priority. So people will feel that. People will see that. So kailangan. Kaya yung ginawa ng gobyerno na pumunta sa Cebu, nagbigay ng 20 peso per kilo na rice, it's a drop in the bucket. I doubt if it will appease people. I doubt if it will change
Unless it's the beginning of a pivot, right? A policy pivot, like President Marcos getting serious. Are you saying, Sir Ronald, that BBM is more in trouble than his sister? Is that what you're saying? Because
well, he is not a candidate. So his sister is more in trouble. Diba? He's not a candidate. Pero the midterm is a plebiscite on the president. Halos sigurado naman majority ng kandidato niya mananalo eh.
except,
Halos,
are these candidates really his candidates or
well,
mga
that's a different thing,
That's my
no?
problem nga eh. Like if,
That's a
if you're
different thing.
BBM,
Dahil
right?
lahat
Exactly. If you're
naman yan,
BBM,
wala naman talagang organic na Marcos
exactly.
ngayon
Like
eh.
who
Siguro
among
kayo na
those
lang, kayo na lang.
seven,
Kayo
eight,
na lang yung
yeah.
organic na Marcos eh, mga Ilocano, no? Katulad mo. Pero yung dating mga Marcos na mga politicians ay either patay na, matatanda na, no? Or wala na. Kaya itong mga sumulpot na alyansa, these are not organic Marcos. No? Their loyalty is to themselves. Di ba? Ang kanilang political calculation is about their political future. Di ba? Pero kahit ganyan ang kanilang profile, pwedeng gamitin ng presidency yung kanyang huge powers na meron pa siyang 3 taon. Ang problema, alam ba niya paano gamitin? No? Alam
Or
ba niya
he
paano
should learn
gamitin?
it. I mean, he has no choice, right? Because
Very powerful eh. No, in a system where the president is very powerful, almost authoritarian, at meron ka pang 3 taon ahead of you, ba't di mo ginagamit? No? Ba't di mo Halimbawa,
maybe
kung ako
because his name is
presidente,
Marcos and he doesn't want to
oh,
sound as
kung ako
authoritarian.
presidente, papatawag ko lahat ng kartel, papatawag ko lahat ng mga middlemen, papatawag ko lahat ng mga agriculture importers. Sabi ko, bigyan niyo ako ng 1 taon, no? I-cut nyo ang inyong profit margin na mas malaki kaysa magsasaka at sinasalanta ang consumer. Kung hindi, papahirapan ko kayo. Kikita pa rin kayo, pero give me something. Give the country something back. No? Sasabihan ko sila. Or else, bibigyan ko kayo ng problema. Lahat ng inyong mga truck na nagdi-deliver ng inyong mga produce, papaharang ko, papahirapan ko yan. No? Ang daming pwedeng gawin. It's a very powerful position.
Yeah, sir, but I'm trying to understand where is this hesitance coming from? Is he overwhelmed by the whole sheer gravity and drama of dealing with Duterte? Let's be honest, Ronald. I'm Sir Ronald. I mean, hindi madaling kalaban ng mga Dutertes, right? And the way the Dutertes are throwing even the kitchen sink at him. I'm not making an excuse for his dividends. I mean, I've been quite critical of that for quite some time. But I'm trying just to understand, where is this coming from? Is it also because he's a Marcos Jr., he doesn't want to come off as as an authoritarian leader, and therefore he's overcorrecting himself? Is it also complacency, perhaps, that he thinks maybe time is on his side when it may not be on his side, and things could actually turn against him in terms of momentum? Kaya sabi ko, dun sa mga 8 na pwede manalo na alyansa, I'm having a hard time seeing how more than 2 there are quite reliable in terms of a clincher, crunch time vote. dalawang umalis na basically kasama yung kapatid niya. Dalawang unwinnable, alam na natin sino mga yan. So, that's not necessarily the best place to be in. Kaya nga sabi ko, tama ka, he's in a better shape than Aimee because Aimee probably will no longer be in an elected office later this year. But in terms of what he had, what he could do, and what he could end up with after these midterms, medyo alanganin, no? Ang position ni BBM.
Well, lagi natin pinag-uusapan yan for the past 1.5 years. Character is destiny. Di ba? Lagi natin sinasabi, character is destiny. Yun yung isa niyang
Well,
problema.
this is the same character that got Duterte in ICC. This is the same character who also got 60% of the votes. I mean, he could also argue it that way, right? That maybe kayong dalawa na nang magaling na napakagaling nyo, ako nga yung naging presidente, ako nga yung naglagay kay Digong sa RCC. Maybe you're not giving my slow and steady approach enough credit. What if ganyan yung thinking niya?
Yeah, ginawa mo yan, no? Bakit na mismanage? Bakit yung communication ay hindi na manage ng maayos, no? Bakit hindi niyo naidikit doon sa kanyang anak yung issue na yan ng crimes against humanity? Ba't hindi nyo naidikit yung usapin ng West Philippine Sea, ng betrayal ng mga Duterte? Ba't hindi nyo naidikit yan? No, yun ang sinasabi. Halimbawa, during the campaign, sinabi na niya lahat eh. Mismanagement ng COVID, kaya ang daming namatay. Sell out ng ating bansa sa isang foreign invader. Drugs, at Pogo, mga syndicates na pinaltan nyo lang ng mga tao nyo, no? Massive corruption, Parmali, etc. No? So, ang kon ngayon dito, yung sinasabi niya, paano yan effectively pabababain sa tao? Ang
And
problema
get
yung
his candidates to also echo it. Yun ang problema. Parang ang
problema niya, yung
tayong sobrang
kandidato niya,
nandun, yung candidates niya nandito pa rin.
yeah,
Ayaw pa rin
yan.
mag-commit.
Yung kandidato
Nag-defect by
niya, hindi
list.
kino-communicate yan. Di ba? Habang yung mga kandidato ng mga Duterte, isa lang ang message, isa lang ang atake. Di ba? Ito mga kandidato niya, either umiiwas na magsalita dun sa sinasabi o atake ng presidente or talagang hindi dumadalo sa sorties. No? Halimbawa, yung very, very always present sa sorties, si Manny Pacquiao, no? Siya pa ngayon ang pinakamababa dun
Pinakamababa.
sa mga
Alangan eh.
kandidato.
Sobrang
Di ba?
alangan.
Siya pa yung pinakamababa. So, ako ay kailangan nilang ayusin yung communication, yung narrative. Dahil baka maging free fall eh. No? Baka maging free fall eh. Na pag naging free fall, hindi mo na masagip. So habang 25% yung approval rating, ayusin mo na. Ayusin mo na. Pero hindi pwedeng usapin lang yan ng communication. Although, meron kang cabinet secretary na magaling sa communication. Halimbawa, si Vince Dizon, yung pinakabagong cabinet secretary.
Right.
At siya nagmamarka, ang dami niyang kinuhang low-hanging fruits. Di ba? From dagdag bala, tanggal yung tatlo, no? Mula dun sa airport sa Siargao, na inayos niya yung kwarto para sa mga turista, hanggang dun sa pagpila sa carousel, bus carousel, at yung pagtanggal ng mga linya sa airport para dito sa Holy Week, hanggang dun sa pagsakay ng MRT. So, yeah, ibig sabihin, that is
It's
communication.
doable. Is it because he
Oh,
worked for you? Is it because he worked for Digong?
yan yung, yan
Saan
yung
niya ginawa yung skills na
communication.
yan?
At ginawa niya yan in so short a time. Siya yung pinakabago. Di ba? So, bakit hindi mo gawin yan? Tapos, may ginagawa siya na medyo substantial. Inaayos niya yung usapin sa subway. Paano? Nagka-problema sa subway. Muntik na umalis yung Japanese, yung JICA. No? Inayos niya yan. So, it's a combination of low-hanging fruit na ipapackage mo na meron kang ginagawa, naglalagay ka ng marka, at the same time, inaayos mo yung mas long term. No? So, ibig sabihin, dapat matuto yung presidente doon sa pinakabago niyang secretary. No? Na,
Or baka i-promote na lang niya as spokesman. Last point, Sir Ronald. I saw a lot of praise for your former deputy when you were in office, who happened to also work for Digong. But where does that leave the genuine opposition? Actually, nakita ko talaga, tama ka pala, hindi niya hinigop yung soup talaga. Talagang wala, no? I couldn't help but sabi ko, tignan ko nga, saan ba galing to hatred na to? Sabi ko, ba't binabash siya? Tapos, o nga, no, wala siyang hinigo, pero ang dami masabi doon. I mean, and then yung isa naman, what is this whole food vlogging? Parang, is this a Maro Has 2.0 situation? Is
Una,
this
una
pinipilit ang
Richard,
relatability? Dumami ba
ang
yung food vlogger consultant kaysa yung mga real political consultant? Honestly, like, I'm trying to figure out, kasi may chance talaga si Kiko, for instance. Even Bam, right?
yeah,
It's not like
exactly.
wala silang chance if they play their cards well and then,
Magiging intense kasi ang labanan, hindi dun
ay,
sa top 10. Magiging intense yung labanan dun sa last two. At yung nakadikit sa labas ng last two. Di ba? Diyan ang intense ang labanan. Kaya diyan ang bakbakan, diyan ang special ops. Di ba? Kaya idinidikit yung nangyari kay Kiko doon sa nangyari kay Mar Rojas na nagpapadyak, nagbubuhat ng bigas, no? Parang hindi bagay. Ganun yung atake kay Kiko eh. Bakit? Bakit ganun katindi yung atake sa kanya? Dahil kadikit niya yung kandidato ng pinakamayamang pamilya sa Pilipinas. No? So, may kanyan, meron niyang pise, meron niyang mahabang pise para ipanalo yung kanilang kandidato na nasa bingit. So kayo lahat delikado. Yung nasa last two at saka yung labas ng last two ay kailangan durugin para masigurado na makapasok yung kandidato ng pinakamayamang pamilya sa Pilipinas. No? Kaya hindi ako magugulat kung eventually tatanggalin sa slate si Camille. No?
akala ko
Tatanggalin sa
Atong
slate.
Ang, sorry, I'm sorry. Pinakamayaman.
Tapos,
Sorry, iba yung isip ko
pwede nilang
pinakamayaman.
papasukin isang independent at isang opposition, no? Isang pink opposition, no? Duda ako papapasukin nila yung dalawa. Duda rin ako kung papapasukin nila yung dalawang independent. So yun yung ilalagay nila do sa bakanting position ni Aimee at saka ni Camille. Yan naman ay equal lang naman, educated
And
guess.
on the super last na to, on the issue of party list, may
Hmm.
problema tayo, di ba? Mukhang may chance si Chelo, medyo alanganin daw ang ML, and may nakausap ako mga Magdalo the other day kasi I was there yung kay Trillanes sa Caloocan. Like, sinasabi ng mga Magdalo, what about also us? Kasi si Gary Alejano is running. I mean, the idea of Chel, De Lima, and Gary Alejano at least being there, not to mention Percy and others, Teddy Baguila, and mga others, Tanyada, I mean, that would be a kind of a dream team in Congress, right? To push for the right things. Pero parang alanganin pareho, lahat eh. Almost three of them. Although Chel is kind of has a good chance this time to make it, fingers crossed. But dapat ba mag-usap ang mga Pinks? Kasi kung 15, 16 million ang bumoto kay Risa and Lenny, these guys just need 1 million vote each, right? Ish, to have
Ang
at least
problema,
one or two seats. Bakit
ang
parang
problema nila,
malabo pa rin sila?
problema kasi nila is the nature of the party system. 'Di ba? Kinakailangan mong hindi mo alam eh kung lulusot ka eh until the last vote is counted. Hindi mo alam kung ano yung percentages eh, no? Kaya very divisive yung party list eh.
But you can
Unless
safely
meron
say a
linaw
million vote can get you at least one seat, right?
two seats.
Kaya nga, at least one seat up to two seats, right? So, why is getting 1 million vote seemingly
Oh.
not as assured as it should be considering there's reason diverse element there, there's,
Eh yung mga bumoboto sa presidente, yung bumoboto sa Senate ay marami sa kanila hindi bumoboto for the party list. Yun yung una, no? Ikalawa ay marami mga party list na may mga bailiwick. Hindi ka na makakakuha ron. Halimbawa, isang governor, yung asawa niya, pinapatakbo sa kanyang province, ang hirap mo na makapasok doon. Parang iso-solidify na yan. No, merong tapos marami mga contractor na namimili ng mga mayors, tapos hindi mo kayang tapatan yon. No? Pero ikatlo ay yung runway mo maikse. Halimbawa, mamamayang liberal, ngayon lang bago eh. Kaya nasa dulo sila ng almost ng lahat ng survey, hindi almost,
yun nga
lahat ng
eh,
survey.
yeah,
So,
ilanganin.
ang medyo nakakagulat yung Magdalo dahil matagal na sila eh. So, yun yung nakakagulat. Yung Akbayan, halos sigurado yan
At least
ng
si
one seat.
Chelo. Yeah,
Labanan kasi is for the second seat. No, for the second seat. Ang Magdalo, pag natalo ngayon, disqualified na sila as a party.
yun nga
Dahil
eh.
natalo sila. No,
Yeah,
kaya delikado sila. No,
delikado. Kaya nga,
pero halimbawa, hindi mo nakikita yung Magdalo sa mga ads. Hindi mo siya nakikita sa
mm,
billboards, hindi mo sila nakikita sa mga balatenga, sa collateral. So, medyo may problema rin sila on how to sell themselves. Di ba? Yun yung
And
kailangan nilang gawin.
how to make sure there's tactical voting? Should there be something like that? Like some pink make sure they vote Akbayan, some pink make sure they vote ML or even Magdalo.
Yan,
Should there be
sigurado
tactical voting
lahat yan.
discussions?
Oh, dahil wala ka naman democratic centralism eh. No, wala kang ganun eh na halimbawa, yung iba nating mga kaibigan, pwedeng sabihin,
And sigurado na
sa
yung mga
inyo
kaibigan natin
Mindanao,
sa kabila.
sa amin
Yeah.
ng Visayas, sa inyo Luzon, sa amin ng NCR. Pwede mo i-command eh, no? Walang ganun eh. Yung ibang mga progressive party list. Ikalawa, hindi mo alam paano gagawin, no? Dahil pwede kang matalo. Halimbawa, even Akbayan, pwede pa rin theoretically pwedeng matalo eh. No? So, yun yung problema sa party list system. Hindi mo alam. Even the surveys may be inaccurate eh.
Yeah, hindi masyadong accurate yung service.
Well,
Yeah.
kasi yung party list hindi siya inaccurate. So hanggang dulo, kailangan mo siguraduhin you get the most votes that you can get dahil hindi mo sigurado kung makakapasok ka. Yun yung problema sa party list system na kailangan baguhin.
Thank you so much, Secretary Llamas, for that almost perfectly somber discussion, except, lumabas talaga in the Scorpion couldn't help but fight.
Communication.
Sir,
Sorry,
like, I was about to say thank you for our first ever respectable podcast together. You don't know how many people say like, ay, mga matitino pala kayong tao. Mas respetable pala kayo. I mean, I would say comments like when people see the serious side of me, like, wait, seryoso pa, medyo respetable pala to. I was hoping, Sir Ronald, to cast that, that air of respectability on you.
Huwag naman natin gawing 100% na sober. Lagyan mo lang,
99%.
ng konti. Oh. Tingnan mo, for more than an hour, hindi ko pinaginit ang Sub-Saharan Africa.
Ayan na naman tayo, Sir Ronald. Tanggalin ko na.
For more than an hour, ano?
Sir Ronald, thank you so much for your kind consideration. Talaga nagparinig ka. Ma'am, pasado naman kay Mami. Pasado ka daw. Good, good, good daw, Sir Ronald. Si Ed Lingaw nga, nung sinabi ko, kala na Mami ko, binubuli mo. Hindi ah. Kaya tuloy, nung isang time safe house tayo, puro siyang, tama si Richard. Tama si Richard. Magaling. Like, I didn't ask for that. I just said, wag mong samahan si Sir Ronald sa pagbabuli sa akin. So thank you so much, Sir Ronald, for not bullying me today. Because magbubulian na naman tayo soon, hopefully.
90%. 90%.
90, yeah, medyo North Korean elections level, 97.5%. Yeah. Thank you so much, Sir Ronald, for behaving, if I can put it that way. No, and for sharing really a heartfelt comments and all. I think many people are surprised to see two of us so invested in spiritual questions, but if you have been through so much stress and trolling and all, you would understand why we need spiritual strength. Talaga kailangan natin sa panahon na yan. Salamat, sir.
You should see us this Saturday do sa book launching ni Walden.
Yes, the Gallery of Rogues who will open the act. Sabi ko kay Walden, are you sure you want that as your opening act? He said, absolutely. But Sir Ronald, 5 minutes lang daw, ha? 5 minutes.
Nagpaalam ako sa kanya. Pwede ba kitang katayin? Pwede ba kitang i-roast?
Oh, yun
Sabi
ang
ni
gusto
Walden,
niya.
be your
Pero 5
natural
minutes.
self. Be
Sir
your
Ronald.
natural self.
Around 5 minutes. Your natural self is not 5 minutes.
That's enough. That's enough, no?
Kasi ang nickname ng bago
bilang na yung aking atake.
Ang nickname ko sa'yo, Fidel na. Malapit ka na maging Fidel Castro, yung mga medyo 4 hours ang ano. Pero thank you so much, sir. I know you were exhausted and all. Mahal na mahal ka namin. Marami nagmamahal sa'yo. And thank you so much also for showing your more spiritual side. Mga
Sino?
dalawa lang naman dito sa mga sa 200 comments here, isa nag-yes. At sa 500 comments here, isa lang ano. Pero okay na. So I think we're making improvements, Sir Ronald. I think that's good enough for me. Thank you so much. God bless and talk to you.